From the devastating tornadoes in the Midwest to the powerful hurricanes striking the coasts, severe weather events in the United States are frequently making headlines in German media. These reports often portray a nation grappling with the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather phenomena. The extensive coverage reflects a growing concern in Germany and Europe about the global implications of climate change, particularly as they observe its impact on a nation with significant global influence. This essay explores the recent surge in severe weather incidents in the US, their coverage in German media, and the subsequent reactions from the public and policymakers in both countries. The German public, known for its environmental consciousness, often views these events through the lens of climate change. The US, despite its scientific contributions to climate research, often faces criticism in German media for its perceived inaction and political polarization on climate policy. This contrast in perception highlights the complexities of addressing a global issue that requires international cooperation and understanding. The spring of 2024 has been particularly brutal for the southern United States. A series of deadly storms, spawning powerful tornadoes and causing widespread flooding, ripped through several states, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Homes were reduced to rubble, businesses were destroyed, and critical infrastructure was severely damaged, leaving thousands displaced and without power. The human cost was immense, with dozens of fatalities reported and many more injured. One particularly devastating storm system tore through Mississippi and Alabama in late April, leaving a path of destruction over 100 miles long. The storm's intensity and unpredictable path caught many off guard, highlighting the limitations of even the most advanced warning systems. The National Weather Service reported multiple tornadoes, some with estimated wind speeds exceeding 170 miles per hour, touching down across the region. The storm's impact was felt far beyond the immediate disaster zone, with power outages reported in neighboring states and transportation networks severely disrupted. Emergency response teams, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, were quickly deployed to the affected areas to provide immediate assistance to survivors. The recovery process, however, is expected to be long and arduous, with rebuilding efforts likely to take months, if not years. The scale of the destruction and the human toll of these storms served as a stark reminder of the devastating power of nature and the vulnerability of even the most developed nations to extreme weather events. The recent string of deadly storms has reignited the debate about the United States' preparedness for and response to increasingly frequent and severe weather events. Critics argue that current infrastructure is inadequate to withstand the intensity of these storms and that disaster preparedness measures are insufficient. Calls for increased investment in resilient infrastructure, such as storm shelters and upgraded power grids, are growing louder. Furthermore, the storms have brought the issue of climate change back into sharp focus. While individual weather events cannot be directly attributed to climate change, scientists agree that rising global temperatures are contributing to an increase in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather. This connection is frequently highlighted in German media coverage, often drawing comparisons to Germany's own policies on climate change mitigation and adaptation. Germany, with its ambitious renewable energy targets and comprehensive climate action plan, is often portrayed as a leader in the fight against climate change. The German public and policymakers often express frustration at the perceived lack of urgency and political will in the US to address the issue. This difference in perception has the potential to create tension in the US-German relationship, particularly as the impacts of climate change become more severe and widespread. The contrasting approaches of the US and Germany to climate change and disaster preparedness reflect deeper philosophical and political differences. The German approach, rooted in a strong sense of social responsibility and a precautionary principle, emphasizes government intervention and collective action. On the other hand, the US, with its emphasis on individual liberty and free markets, often favors market-based solutions and limited government involvement. These differences are evident in the public discourse surrounding the recent storms. German media coverage often highlights the perceived failures of the US government to adequately protect its citizens from the impacts of climate change. This criticism, while sometimes perceived as condescending by some in the US, reflects a genuine concern for the well-being of those affected by these disasters and a belief that more could be done to prevent such tragedies. Despite these differences, there are also opportunities for collaboration and learning between the two nations. Germany's experience in developing renewable energy infrastructure and implementing sustainable urban planning can provide valuable lessons for the US. Similarly, the US, with its advanced technological capabilities and innovative spirit, can contribute to developing new solutions for climate change mitigation and adaptation. The recent spate of deadly storms in the US serves as a sobering reminder of the growing threat posed by climate change and the urgent need for international cooperation to address this global challenge. While differences in perception and policy approaches between the US and Germany are evident, these differences should not overshadow the shared responsibility both nations have in mitigating the impacts of climate change. Open dialogue, knowledge sharing, and collaborative efforts are essential to bridge the transatlantic divide on climate policy. By leveraging their respective strengths and learning from each other's experiences, the US and Germany can emerge as global leaders in the fight against climate change, setting an example for other nations to follow. The devastation witnessed in the wake of these storms underscores the urgency of this task and the need for immediate and decisive action.